We're going to be reading in, let's see here, Love. We're going to Luke chapter 6. I thought we were reading the book of love. The book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 27 to 49. And I think I've already read through this, but I just want to kind of go into more detail here. You know, we've been talking about how resentfulness is basically a harboring, offense against someone else. You know, it's not forgiving people. That it's really a lack of love. And that the only way you can love is if you've seen it done. And so, this is why parenting is supposed to take 20 years. You know what I'm saying? It's why you're supposed to go through a season in your life where you just learn love. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people get that stolen away. So, you got to try harder. You know what I mean? To find. So everybody starts looking for love. And a lot of times they're looking for love in the wrong place. A lot of times people who were sexually abused may actually do the same thing to their children. Okay, now it doesn't happen every time, but definitely sex gets corrupted, So if, and when you talk about that, like sexual abuse, you're talking about corrupt affection, which would be, I saw all your Greek words up here earlier. There's your eros, which is your intimate love. Yeah. And so, love. Okay, so agape love. That's your Greek word for agape love. Agape love.
Go ahead, put your hillbilly hat on.
No, agape love. That's your unconditional love. This is the one we've been talking about.
God's love.
This whole time, and the reason why is because none of these other loves can really be perfected without this one.
Correct.
Okay, this is your foundational love. Okay, and so that's what we've been talking about. Yeah. If you don't have this, then all the other ones get
twisted,
corrupt. They get twisted. Okay. So, for instance, if you don't have the agape love, and you don't understand the boundaries of these other loves, you got your storge love, which is your family love. Mm-hmm. You have your phileo.
Philea.
We fillet somebody.
It's your brotherly love. And y'all called it friendship earlier.
Uh-huh.
Phileo love's what you have. Is whenever you're in the military and you're fighting a battle.
Yeah.
And you've got some common goal together. This is actually the strongest bond of love. This is agape love, so it's kind of in a category of its own. So you got storge, you got phileo, and then you have eros, which is intimacy.
Passion.
And it's actually sexual love.
Yeah, it's sexual.
It's really sexual. So, if you understood that love has context, especially these loves have context. You would understand that storge love is okay with my daughter, father and daughter. Yeah. Huh? Intimacy. I'm sorry, can barely see it. Intimacy. That's what this word is. Even though it doesn't really say it. It says intimacy. Anyway, intimacy. You want me to spell it right?
Yeah.
Intimacy. I think.
Yeah.
Spelling that right?
I just did yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, you're, a father and a daughter can have storge love, right? But the moment you put eros love in there, it's not good.
Oh, no.
So you can see that this is why it gets so confusing for people, because all of these loves are good. They're just not good in different places.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Now phileo love can pretty much be with anybody. I can have a phileo love with my wife. if we are, in a common bond together. This is your covenant, and this one is whenever people,
Start from one go.
this love is so special. This one right here, man. This one's almost natural. Okay? It just comes. This one's almost natural.
That's like
It just comes,
Eros
right?
is like a sexual attraction.
Right. So me and my wife, we'll have Eros love. It just happens. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There is no, you know what I'm saying? This is something about it. God created your body to respond that way. Same thing with this one. There's this bond that happens with your children that you can't really explain. It just happens, But phileo love is a lot like agape love in the fact that it's something you have to work at. It's something that you have to. Okay. Which
is what we're going through.
Which all four of y'all, all 6 of us are going through. But y'all are going to experience it maybe even more together because you are living together.
Like it draws us closer.
Yeah, when you live in a house that's not completely finished and you're going through the struggle together, it creates a bond. That's phileo. It's the coolest. It's the coolest thing ever. All right. In fact, whenever Jesus was telling Peter, he says, "Do you love me?" He said phileo the first time, and he said, and so the second time he says, "Do you love me?" The second time, the phileo. This is the strongest love they could communicate on a human level. And then the last time he says, "Do you agape love me?" Which means
Unconditional.
no matter what. If I was to backstab you, would you still love me? Because see, backstabbing is a breaking of this love.
Verse is that?
Exactly.
It's in Luke, you said?
That's strong.
It's at the end of John, and it may be at the end of some other Gospels too, but I do know it's at the end of John. It's at the end of at least 2 of them. Anyway, but yeah, that's why did Jesus say that? Because Peter did backstab him. Proverbs 18:24. The man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Okay, so the comparison here, closer than a brother, infers that a brother is the closest relationship you could have. Okay, and there is. I don't know how to describe it, but I have a brother, and all of my life, no matter where we went, no matter what we did, he was always there. My brother was constant. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I don't know how to describe it, man. That's what you get when you spend time with other men and you pour into them, and that phileo love it's a loyalty bond is what it is. Phileo love can oftentimes be manipulated too. Like,
Oh yeah. Your brothers can manipulate your heartbeat.
And the reason why is because I do know they have that bond with you.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's why agape has to be the foundation for it.
Yeah.
Agape is God reverential. If you don't always keep God in a certain spot, then this one will get messed up. Okay. I mean, we learned about Joab the other day, right? All of us were at the Joab one, right?
Yeah.
I told James already, and you were not at the Joab one with Peg Joyce.
No, I had to go to.
Came in late.
All right, so Joab was the chief commander of the armies of David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I know, Joe. Yeah, I read that.
Now,
I know
what y'all don't know, I don't know if she went through everything at the beginning, but let's go over this for a minute. We'll get to this here in a minute. This actually is a resolution to what we're talking about right now. So, about the backstabbing, and stuff like that. So, you have Joab. He was one of David's mighty men. Okay, and check this out. Here's what happened. And I'm glad we're talking about this. This is good. All right, so we're talking about Joab. He's one of the mighty men. He was actually chief of the mighty men. And these mighty men were found. What happened was they're the ones that were on the run from Saul. When David was on a run from Saul, these men were also found in the cave with him as well. And David basically took these men that were outcasts, that were down and out. He took them and he rallied them up and basically became their leader. He just loved on them, and they loved David. You know what I mean? And it's because David saw something in them that Saul did not see in them. You see what I'm saying? and or they were just, not faithful to Saul. Who knows? But the point is, when they were down and out, David was there. David basically became their king before he ever was king. You see what I'm saying? In their hearts,
Loyalty.
they made him king. And so these mighty men, they were loyal to David, right? But this loyalty is that phileo. Okay? It's that bond that they got with him, okay? And, well, the thing about it is, man, you can have that with somebody, but that person doesn't ever necessarily have your heart. So we learned about Joab the other day, how Joab, there was sometimes when he did have the heart of David, it seemed like. He said, it says in the word that he knew that David's heart went out to Absalom. So he tried to get David to bring Absalom back. Well, then when Absalom did come back, then he burned Joab's fields. One guy he was trying to get him back in. Next thing you know, Absalom tries to take over the kingdom.
Yep.
And David says, don't kill my son. And who kills him? Joab. All right. Then there's another guy named Abner that he killed as well. I think he was some sort of general of some sort.
He raped somebody, didn't he, too?
Huh?
Didn't he rape one of the family members of David or something?
That's
Amnon. I think his name is Amnon or whatever. Is that
Yeah.
right? He raped Absalom's sister.
Okay.
Absalom killed Amnon.
Okay.
Then Absalom went on the run because David was upset because he killed his brother.
I got you.
Okay. Then Joab brings Absalom back.
And
Absalom burns Joab's fields.
And whacks
Absalom tries to take over the kingdom.
And he whacks Absalom.
Gone.
Yeah.
Run, or he gets on the run. Or David runs. Joab comes up here and kills Absalom while he's hanging in a tree.
it takes them out.
All right. So here's the problem. Phileo love is amazing. It's a bond that's stronger. It's like a brotherhood. Okay. The problem with phileo love is it doesn't. Without God, it's untamable. Okay. There is. What happens is phileo love can almost be corrupted without agape love.
Yeah.
Joab found his identity in David instead of God. Joab loved David so much he couldn't bear to think of himself not being second in command to David because he loved David. You see, he loved David, but he was more. I just told James yesterday. Joab was more loyal to being more, was not as loyal to David as he was to being in good in David's sight. He wanted David's approval. He wanted David's what do you call it? Just to
affirmation.
he wanted to do the wrong thing and still wanted David to like it.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? He was not loyal to God, which was what if he had really been loyal to God, he would have been loyal to David. Because David was a man after God's own heart. So if Joab had gotten a hold of that, he would have been a man after God's own heart. And he would have been a man of mercy.
If he'd have been in line with God, he'd have seen what David wanted too in life.
Yeah. If Joab had really loved David more than he loved David's approval, then he wouldn't have been offended whenever David put him in second command and third command instead of second. When he put Amasa over him, Joab would have submitted. You see what I'm saying? But he was so bothered by the fact that David didn't put him in this place anymore. Why? Because he respected David. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff here. This is what causes divisions and stuff. All kinds of stuff. This is so dangerous. So,
Church splits.
David, though, was a man of mercy.
Yeah.
So he never killed Joab until the end of his days. And when he was dying, he was more merciful to his son Solomon than he was to Joab, and told Solomon, you take care of Joab. Why? He didn't want Solomon to inherit Joab. David knew this. Joab will be loyal to me and me alone. He will not be loyal to you, Solomon.
So kill him.
So kill him. Isn't that crazy?
It's true.
And we, this is why in the bond of, it was such a weird phenomenon, but this brotherly love, this phileo, can almost become like a God thing, you know?
So you're saying that if David was not after God's own heart, he wouldn't had told his son to kill Joab.
David loved Solomon and didn't want Solomon to have trouble.
To get
Well, I'm just saying that
the same issues that he had.
the
That's what he
bond-
said. He said, Joab has done me wrong.
Or worse
You know.
issues.
Huh?
Because he was
Yeah,
loyal
or
to David.
worse.
Just think how he would have done Solomon.
David's gone. That means the one who tamed him is gone out of the picture. I've literally had people come through the house that the only person they able to listen to is me. And I'm thinking, this is dangerous. This guy needs to fear God, not fear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem. Is that Joab didn't. I mean, he had some level of fear of God, but again, it was like he was looking through David to get to God more than he was
His
really
God
going
was
to God.
David.
Yes. And that's so weird to say, but we violate
true.
our God all the time.
He was fed by David.
He was. He didn't go to the source.
He brought to him. David's the one that brought him out of the gutter, out of the mud, and brought him all the way up with him. So he looked.
Now-
they put David on a pedestal.
Now, and that's a dangerous
Yes.
thing. Putting men on pedestals, especially if they fail you.
Mm.
You know.
Or they use you.
Yeah. So, this is where agape love comes in, because agape love covers a multitude of sins.
Yeah.
So even if that guy did use you, or if he accidentally
Yeah.
used you, you have mercy for him. You see what I'm saying? And that's where agape love, phileo love can be really dangerous, man. It can be almost God. It can take the place of God in your life, and you end up only serving. You end up following this bond that you have, and that's where your gangs get in there. You know what I mean? People. It's all about loyalty, and it's all about you don't tattle. You know what I'm saying? What it's snitch.
Snitch.
And because
You don't turn on your own.
right, and the problem with that is that's not God fearing, that's man fearing, and so it's dangerous. So phileo love is the strongest love out there, but it can be corrupted without agape.
Like I said, it's a two-edged sword.
Same thing with eros love. Eros is given by God for sexual
Intimacy.
pleasures, between a husband and wife. But whenever you take that out of and it creates a bond. Eros love creates a bond with your wife that you have with no one else. Okay, and so
You take it out of covenant, it becomes corrupted.
you take it out of the agape, out of the God-like love, and it can be totally messed up. Now, what you're doing is you're going to eros love to get what you want from it instead of what you can give your spouse. You see what I'm saying? You're not pleasing me the way I want to be pleased, and now it gets totally screwed up. Eros love can be twisted again whenever you start putting it into different contexts, like with relationships you're not supposed to have, with sex. All right, does it make sense? And then, anyway, does it make sense? So every love can be corrupted without the foundation of agape love, without pursuing God 100%. Make sense? Cool.
So you're saying that agape love is incorruptible.
Yeah, that's what's cool about that.
Unconditional.
Luke chapter 6, verse 27. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. All right, so it kind of gives you a little bit of a list here. It says, love your enemies. So how do you love your enemies? Well, you have to understand is that hurt people. So whenever you're dealing with someone who's being mean to you, the truth is they don't know any better. You just have to automatically assume that they don't know any better. Because if they know you, I mean, look, I'm an awesome person, man. If they just knew me, really, they wouldn't treat me like that, right? If you could see that, so what happens is when somebody starts treating you like that, immediately it starts attacking your identity. Oh man, why are they treating me like that? What did I ever do to them? You didn't do anything to them. They're just doing it. You know what I mean?
He's been a roughneck for ever too, so
Yeah.
it's hard not to do it.
Yeah. So he's just around rough people and been treated rough.
Yeah.
And so it's not an excuse. And the reason why we can make it not an excuse is just by being the good environment that he needs. You know what I mean? And trust me, I've had many times where I've just started acting kindly towards someone. And what if you never did, this is just say you never did anything wrong and they're still doing it to you? You can't necessarily go apologize. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why it says right here, do good to those who hate you. Because you might not have done anything wrong, but you can do good to them. I heard all my life, just ignore them. They don't work. And then some people say, retaliate. Well, that don't always work either.
No, sorry.
You know? But if you love them back and actually do good, that works nearly every time. I mean, I'd say 99% of the time, you do good to someone who's not been good to you, it's going to change the whole relationship.
Yeah.
Because people don't get love from anybody. So when you start showing them love, they don't want to get rid of it. They don't want to lose that. You see what I'm saying? You got to think about that. If you start being nice to somebody, they don't want to get rid of a good thing. Now sometimes people don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
They may still be rude and stuff like that. But the truth is, they're not necessarily trying to drive you away. Either that, or they're trying to drive you away to see if you're real.
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Oh,
Yeah, they try to crunch numbers before they do anything.
So
You gotta sometimes take a risk. That's what love is. Just trying to risk.
yeah,
Try to make it make sense for it.
Yeah.
Spend too much time making sense of it.
Overthinking.
Overthinking.
When the truth is, God's thinking is higher thinking, and it's higher thinking than my analytical brain. And that doesn't make sense. Now, once it happens, once I've actually tried it and it works, well, now it makes total sense. I actually speak from experience from turning a bunch of my enemies into my friends. And that's why I know it works, only because I obeyed. But I didn't know it was going to work when I tried it. It didn't make sense to me. The wisdom was not there. When my friend, and when I say my friend now, but he was my enemy, my arch enemy in high school, when he was, I had mental images of me just pounding his face in the ground.
Been down that road.
I had murder in my heart toward this guy. But the Lord told me, I started praying for him. I didn't pray for him because God told me to. I started praying for him because I wanted him to change. And then the Lord started teaching me all about him, and taught me a lot about myself.
No, you changed.
How old were you at the time?
In your 70s.
I was a senior in high school.
Oh.
So I started praying for this guy, and the Lord said to me, I started realizing, first of all, that I had done wrong too. That I wasn't blameless. When I got that, it changed a lot of things. I realized I needed to change, not just him. You know what I mean? And so I started changing my heart towards this man. So anyway, this man, I was praying for him, and it was more of, hey, God, change him, make him different, And then I started learning that the Lord started showing me about him somehow, whether I heard from him, or by the grapevine or whatever. Man, this guy's mom hates him,
Good.
and it hit me hard, man. This guy doesn't know how to love. All he knows is what he's seen.
Hate.
Is hate, and someone not caring about him and rejecting him. And when he lashed out in his pain, how did I respond?
Anger.
Same thing.
I gave him exactly what he was always getting. I didn't help him. I just hurt him. And this is the reason why it's important for us to see this in other people, where they come from, because it helps you understand that everybody is a victim to a level.
Almost
With a
definitely.
loving heart to find out the real issue behind it.
Yeah.
It's so vital,
Yes.
because then you can help that person get out of their issues that they're having in their heart, and learn to be vulnerable around you,
That's
so
right.
that they can discuss it and they can overcome it.
That's right.
Because if they keep it in, they're never going to overcome it.
They're never going to overcome
They just keep blowing over on people, and make everybody around them themselves a victim.
Right. That's why, here we want to try to connect with people. We want to make sure. That's why I tell people every time, the more vulnerable you are here, the more you are courageous enough to open up, is the more freedom you're going to
It's
get.
a building up process.
And the more vulnerable you are to people, the more vulnerable they'll be to you.
Yes. Because they'll start to trust you.
And if you're not open to them, why should they open to you?
It's almost like you're making a deal, man. Like, I'll give you this much if you give me that much. And that's important. It's important for covenant. It's a cutting away. That's what covenant is. So, yeah, it's important. When you enter into covenant with somebody, we just talked about, I was talking to Cameron earlier about this. Covenant is when you cut. Okay, it's to cut. It's to make a sacrifice. Okay? So when people would make a covenant with God, they would burn a sacrifice. They would kill an animal. That animal was a part of their prosperity. It was like throwing away $200 bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a sacrifice. They couldn't eat it. It was gone.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So covenant, when you enter into covenant with somebody, it's going to cost you something.
Yes.
Okay, so part of covenant is being vulnerable. Oh. Vulnerable.
Do you?
Being vulnerable. So whenever I open up to you and let my guard down, and you open up, see, I can open up to you and let my guard down all I want. And if you never open up, guess what? I've just practiced vulnerability, which is fine, but we don't have a relationship.
No.
Whenever I open up and you open up, then we have a relationship.
And we build a bond.
We build a bond. So this is why love is interdependent. It is not dependent. My love toward you is not dependent on your love towards me. Okay? Love can stand alone, on its own. I can love you and not get anything back. However, relationships cannot stand without love that can stand alone. Make sense? A good relationship will not stand. It cannot remain without love that cannot stand alone. Okay? So you have to have love that stands alone. I have to have love that stands alone. When you put those two loves that stand alone together, you have a relationship. Make sense? But so many people, they don't even want to love until they get love back first. And that's whenever their relationships just crumble because they're not willing to take the risk. Make sense? So we're going to go over here, Matthew chapter 18, verse 15. It says, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. Okay? If he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of two or three witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Okay, so listen. This is not the same thing as snitching. What's the difference between this and snitching?
Being accountable. That's all it is.
This is being accountable. But I went to my offender first. When they didn't listen, I brought my offender with me to an elder.
May I use an example?
Yeah.
Back to my wife. I hate to go back to her, but when me and my wife would discuss something, it turned into a big blown up argument. We'd always bring in a third party. Because, I always say there's three truths. There's my side, there's her side, and there's the absolute truth. So we'd sit back and not him go over here or him go over here. We'd all sit here and talk and discuss it. And you have a mediator that's telling you, hey,
Yeah.
and he loves both of you and he wants to see you together. So he
That's right.
brings it together so you can figure it out and
Yeah.
and get an understanding. Because two tempers flaring, it's hard to get an understanding.
Yes.
But if you got somebody that's level-headed, that's keeping the temperatures down,
That's right.
you can bring the horses together and you can drink the water
That
together.
mediator has to love both of you.
Exactly.
And, so many times I've had people want me to do their marriage counseling or something like that. I'm like, you don't want me to do your marriage counseling. You won't like me because I won't take your side. And, well, you really need to talk to my husband. No, I probably need to talk to you.
That's like John.
Yeah. And when people are like that, the thing is, if we keep on going, when we have issues, especially with our spouses or something like that, and we keep going to somebody else who just tickles our ear and just tells us what we want to hear, yeah, he is a jerk, then you just invited a divider into your marriage. They're gonna split your marriage right open,
That's what became our problem is P started siding with me a little bit more than her, and she got offended because, one, it's her blood brother. So she feels like oh, it's my brother. He should be loyal to me more than he should be loyal to you.
Right.
And that causes strife. So we cut him out the picture, and that's when it started going bad.
If we could see, now there's marriage between a man and woman.
Yeah.
Okay, marriage means the union. Okay, so I'm not saying holy matrimony between man and woman when I say this next part. Okay, there is a marriage that happens. Companies can marry together. You know what I mean? They can marry. Well, that means they become one. All right. All right. So when you enter into covenant with somebody, there is something that happens where you become one with them. Okay. So that unity that we're talking about. Okay. This is important. If you want to see when you have a conflict with a brother or conflict with a spouse, you always want to go to someone who does not see you as two individual people. You want to go to someone who sees you as one. Because if you don't go to someone who sees you as one, they're not going to be thinking about the one. They're going to be thinking about, well, he's right and she's wrong. Or she's right and he's wrong, a good mediator will not see that. A good mediator will see
Truth.
We're trying to settle the dispute in this one being that's made up of two people. But it's one being. And if I'm fighting for the marriage, or I'm fighting for the relationship, or if I'm fighting for the brothers together, you know what I mean? Then I'll never take sides. I'll just be on the one side of the relationship. I care about peacemaking. I care about there being peace. So if there's a heart issue here, we need to fix it. If there's a heart issue over here. Whenever you are partial towards the relationship, you become impartial towards the people. Okay? And you care more. And the same thing as a husband. When you get married one day, you're going to have to be that. As a husband, you're going to always have to take yourself out of the picture and look at yourselves. Okay? Because you're the priest of your home. Okay? You're the mediator. To a degree. Okay? You're going to have to be able to not let emotions run you ragged in your marriage. Listen, you know what the hardest part? I always tell people it is. The hardest part is when you start talking to your wife, she's like, there's this awful man. Oh, yeah, honey? Who is he? He's just so mean. He's always this and that and that. He's just a horrible person. Well, what's his name? It's you. And you're like, dadgum. Well, the hardest part in a marriage is whenever they have a problem with you, because you as a husband, if it wasn't you, you'd be on the you would be defending it, right?
You'd be there, yeah.
So what we got to do is we have to constantly take ourselves out of the picture. I have to do that with my wife. Is if we get into it or whatever, I have to remove myself out of the picture and look at us both, and say I'm a peacemaker. Even now, even though I'm not the third party, I'm gonna pretend I'm a third party, so that when she starts attacking me, I don't take it personal.
Character.
I don't take it personal.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I just know she's having issues, and I want to help her get through it. You see what I'm saying? It also keeps me have a level head, so I don't get emotional about it, because it's important. You can get emotional about it.
Most definitely.
So anyway, that's just something I've had to do. Especially at the beginning of my marriage. When we were becoming one.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button, share it to your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more content every single week. Also, if you haven't yet, be sure to visit our website at balmzs.com. We got a lot of content there, a lot of things for you that are absolutely free. So be sure to utilize us as much as possible. We hope that you have a great day, and God bless.